Lately, I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube of people replacing doom scrolling with handheld gaming. And so I decided to jump on this bandwagon. And honestly, I can say that I don't regret it one bit. And I should have done this a long time ago. So basically, instead of pulling out my phone for YouTube Shorts, Instagram or Facebook Reels, TikTok, I'll pull out the Switch instead and I'll start playing a game on that. But not just the Switch, I've also found my old Nintendo 3DS and I've been playing old games that I've enjoyed when I was little. And if I don't want a game, I'll just pull out my phone, but not for YouTube Shorts or TikTok or any Reels. I pull it out to read a book. I've been doing this for about a week now. It's led me to the conclusion that short-term media like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Reels are slowly stealing your happiness one short video at a time. And that might sound a little dramatic, but I do believe that is true. Now, I completely understand how easy it is to fall into the rabbit hole of YouTube Shorts, Reels, TikToks, because when I'm at work and I'm on my break, I've noticed that I'll pull out my phone and I'll just start scrolling through whatever is on my feed. Or if I'm not on break while I'm still at work, I'll notice that I have a few minutes of time to kill, and then I'll just pull out my phone and I'll start scrolling through YouTube Shorts. And I've even noticed that when I'm at home and I have a little bit of free time on my hands where I'm not doing something, I notice that I'll pull out my phone and I'll start scrolling through Shorts or Reels. I get it, because it's a quick and it's an easy way to make the time go by. It just works. That's what they were built for. They were built to steal your attention. But since I've jumped on this bandwagon where instead of pulling out my phone for YouTube Shorts, instead I'll jump on Kindle and I'll start reading a book. Or if I don't want to read a book, I'll pull out the Switch instead and I'll sit on the couch and I'll start playing a game. Or if not the Switch, I've got the Nintendo 3DS where I've got a bunch of games on that and I'll start playing that instead. And honestly, I can say that making this into a habit the past week has actually changed my attention span. I'm actually learning to enjoy games again. So let's talk about the handhelds. And the first one that I've got here is my Nintendo 3DS. This is the original one that came out in 2011. And I actually had a problem with it a few days ago where it didn't turn on, but I managed to fix it. At first I thought it was the battery replacement, so I ordered a battery off of Amazon and I installed that today. That battery came in today. And well, that wasn't the case. Well, I know it definitely did need a new battery because the battery died on me within like 30 minutes, even though it was fully charged. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was I needed to update the firmware, but since my 3DS is modded, well, it basically bricked it, if that's what it's called. But I managed to fix it, and now I can play Super Mystery Dungeon. Now, this Nintendo 3DS, I didn't spend enough time on this as much as I would have liked to. Like I said, this thing came out in 2011, so by that time, I was already about 14 or 15 years old. But anyways, since I've been pulling this out and playing it instead of scrolling through Shorts, I've decided to retouch on this game, and that is Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. And I've just been really getting into the story. My first introduction to this series was Red Rescue Team, which was for the Game Boy Advance. And I personally really enjoyed the spin-off from the Pokemon games. I'm not sure if many people also share the same experience I have, but it tickles my brain a certain way that the other Pokemon games just doesn't. I still remember just sitting in my room playing this game for hours on end. I've played the other series from the spin-offs like Explorers of Time, and I've put a lot of hours into that one as well. There's Gates to Infinity and the one I just showed you, Super Mystery which I've played both of them, but not as much as the other two. I remember I got pretty far into Gates to Infinity, but I never did finish the game. Super Mystery Dungeon, I played a little bit using an emulator on my PC. But now that I've got my Nintendo 3DS running again and it's got a new battery, I plan on revisiting Infinity and Super Mystery, which is currently the one I'm playing right now. I also did get the Mystery Dungeon DX, which is the remake of Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team, but for the Switch. And I've beaten the main storyline on that one, but I haven't played through everything on it. There's the Kyogre storyline, there's the Latias storyline, and I want to say there's a bunch of other storylines as well, but that's like the two that I remember off the top of my head. And since I'm talking about the Switch, this is a good way to segue into the Switch and talk about the game that I've been playing on that, which is Pokemon Arceus, Legends Arceus. And that game has been sitting on my shelf for years now. And I remember I played it when it first came out a few years ago, but I never got far into it. Right now, I've just finished off the Kleavor storyline and I'm just now moving on to the next area. So the only issue I have with the game so far is how empty the areas feel at times. And it might just be me, but it feels like there could be more Pokemons roaming around in the area. But other than that, I don't think I've really gotten far enough into the game to really complain about it. I am enjoying it so far. So, I mean, really, that's all that matters. Now, when I don't feel like playing a game at all, I'll just pull out my Kindle and I'll read a book. I just finished The Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, which the HBO show inspired me to pick up the books and start reading them. It didn't take me too long to finish the books. It took maybe about 2 weeks or so. But because I started reading those books and I really enjoyed the story, I wanted to read something similar. And that's how I started reading The Blade Itself, which is part of the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and I'm about 70 pages in and I'm still not quite sure what it's really about. I didn't want to read the synopsis, so that way I'm going into the books just completely raw. And so far I think the main character is Logan, and it's set in this fantasy world with magic, orcs, wizards, and all the likes of that. And so far it is pretty interesting, and one aspect of the book that's caught my attention is how much it reads like a movie. So what it'll do is it'll jump from like a different character's perspective to the next, and it'll somehow intertwine them together, sort of like how a movie would play out. It also reminded me of The Witcher a little bit. Like there's this part where Logan breathes in the spirit from a fire he made, and he said that he could basically save that spirit by breathing it in, and then he can use that to make another fire later on. But he ends up using it on this bandit's face and just basically burns the dude on fire. And it reminded me of the signs in Witcher. I believe that's what they were called. But other than that, that's like the only similarities that reminded me of The Witcher. There was nothing else really. Anyways, I've been enjoying this change in my life because it feels like I'm actually in control of what I choose to focus my time into. You won't believe me when I say this, but I've actually noticed a change in just like my overall mood. And it makes sense because it's so easy to fall into the shorts trap. I mean, you've only got a few minutes, so you pull out your phone and you just start swiping through it. You just start swiping through your feed and see what's there. And I get it. It fills the time. It's quick. It makes waiting around not so boring. But what short-term media does is it steals your attention span, one little dopamine at a time. And so when you do go try and engage in activities that you used to enjoy, it just doesn't seem as enjoyable anymore. And a good example of that for me is video games. And I think it's why Pokemon Arceus has just been sitting on my shelf for like the past couple years. And every time that I would try to pick it up and try to play it, I just didn't have the attention span to fully enjoy the game and to fully immerse myself in it. And it's not just Pokemon Arceus. I have so many games that has just been sitting on my shelf that I've bought for $60 and I played for like 10 minutes, and when that 10-minute was up, I never touched it again. And it's because my attention span doesn't allow me to engage in long form media long enough to actually enjoy it, because it's not getting me gratification every 60 seconds. Listen, if Shorts didn't work, then TikTok wouldn't be $1 billion company. It's exactly what the engineers designed it for. And YouTube wouldn't be trying to shove YouTube Shorts every time you jump onto their website. But I think you can take control of your mind, and instead of going through Shorts and putting your attention span on Shorts, you should replace it with a handheld like a 3DS or a Nintendo Switch, or if not those two things, pull out your phone and instead of Shorts, get on Kindle and start reading a book. And I promise you, the change in your brain, it happens so quick, and you'll be better for it. Give it about a week, and I think you'll find yourself enjoying things you used to enjoy again. Like for me, I've just been enjoying sitting on the couch, pulling out the Switch and playing a game. That's all I've got for you. I'll see you on the next one.